There are not a lot of absolutes in water restoration. So much of it is an art. But there's a science behind the application of the art. Okay, let me prove this just a moment. Let's give 5 water damage experts the same project. They're going to go about it a little bit different, each one of them, even though they base their decisions on the science. But at the end, they will have accomplished the same goals: get the building clean and dry and mitigate the amount of loss as much as possible, and then document everything. A lot of what you're going to learn in this class is how to dry. Keep it simple. We're going to cover a lot of different drying practices in the class, but it all builds off these basic steps. Remove as much of the excess water as you can first. Then warm the wet materials. Then dry the air. And finally, get as much rapid airflow as possible to where the water can escape. That's how you dry anything, including buildings. Those 5 water damage experts just have different ways of approaching each of those 4 tasks. That's what we all have to work with. It's interesting. We're often looking for exact directions on how to do something. So, yeah, there's exact directions when you're putting together a piece of equipment or a piece of furniture. But what's the best way to make bread? There's so many different ideas on how bread should actually be made. There's everything from crackers to biscuits to French baguettes to Italian loaves, and it's all delicious. As you look at a water damage project, it's kind of the same. Yes, we all use the same components, but we apply them differently, and that's okay. Just provide for customer requests and deliver a clean, dry building while reducing the overall cost of the loss as much as possible. That's what you're trying to do. Now, as we go into this course, yes, there's a lot of science. There are a lot of numbers. There are a lot of different pieces of equipment. There are a lot of technical terms. Make sure you learn those. But the key is understanding how each of those pieces fit into the larger picture of a proper water damage project. If you don't, it's kind of like looking at a pile of puzzle pieces. They don't mean anything without understanding where they fit into the larger picture. Welcome to the classroom. Here with me are some of your fellow students. And to get the class started, I'd like to introduce them to you and get to know them a little bit. So let's just go around the table so that everyone can introduce themselves. Tell us a little bit about your background, and then we're going to get started with the class. So give us your name and what you hope to get out of this class.
I'll go first. My name is Chris. I'm new to the water restoration industry, but I love it. I'm hoping to become an expert, and this is my first step.
Hi, everybody. My name is Bobby. I've been in water restoration for about 10 years now, so I do have some experience, but I'm not sure that I've been doing things the right way.
Bobby, Chris, nice to meet you. I'm Evan. I've been with my company for about 6 months, so I'm pretty new.
It's going to be fun to have this class together. And we also welcome those of you who are with us online. You're part of this class as well. So let's talk about the goal of WRT. This course will be presented in a series of modules or sections. Some people might even call them chapters. But the sections are broken down into a logical order that'll help you to see how a job progresses from beginning to end.
You know, I haven't taken any online courses. So for those students that are participating online, what's the best way to participate in this class so that you get the most out of the training?
There are a couple different ways to engage with this course. First, you definitely want to focus on the videos being presented. Watch all of them. There will even be some additional courses at the end, some additional videos at the end that you can watch as well. To get the most out of the videos, it's best to do the training when you're alert. It's also good to take breaks periodically. It's difficult to binge watch technical training and get the maximum benefit. Second, have your course manual with you and follow along in that. Some people prefer to print the course manual. That's what I personally like to do. Others prefer to use an electronic copy. Third, and closely related to number 2, do the exercises, the coursework in the manual on your own. So there will be a number of things that I'm going to ask you to do, and I'm not checking your work, But if you don't do those coursework items, you won't learn the concepts. Fourth, take on all of the quizzes. They're absolutely necessary. This course is based on the IICRC S500 Water Damage Restoration Standard. The IICRC is a standards organization that produces standards associated with the restoration and cleaning industries. The standard for water restoration is the S500. As we go through the course, we will refer to the S500. This is the standard that we're talking about. There are 5 words in that standard that help us to understand the importance of practices and procedures it outlines. Look at your student manual now, and look at the section S500 Important Definitions. Who would read the 5 words that are italicized?
I see them. Shall, should, recommended, may, and can.
Exactly. In the standard, those words have very specific definitions. So when you see the word shall in the S500, what does that mean?
It says here it's mandatory due to natural law or regulatory requirement. That means we have to do it, right?
Yes, it does. It also means that it's a component of the standard of care or a procedure that we're to follow. But what about the word should?
Should. It means that the practice or procedure is a component of the accepted standard of care to be followed, while not mandatory by regulatory requirements. So it's something we should do.
That's correct. Should and shall are both words that indicate procedures that we are to follow as restoration professionals. It's the standard of care. Recommended is the next word. What does that mean?
Now that's interesting. It says here, when the term recommended is used in this document, it means that the practice or procedure is advised or suggested, but is not a component of the accepted standard of care to be followed. Does that mean that we have to do the things that say recommended?
That's a good question. So to be clear, it's not a practice that is standard of care. When we see that word recommended, it's something that's a good idea. It's not necessarily required, but it's a good idea. So if you're going to go against something that's recommended, you would need a good reason, right? So recommended practices are usually going to be the right thing, but some projects may require you to go in a different direction. And that's okay. Just think it through. Make sure that your decision is logical. But what about the words may and can?
So may, it signifies that you have permission or it's permissible, but it is not a component of the standard of care. And can, it signifies an ability or a possibility that's open to you, but that's also not a component of the accepted standard of care. So let me recap this. Basically, if the word shall or should are used, I better do it. If the standard says something is recommended, it's probably going to be the best idea to do that. But in some cases, the job might need a different solution. If the words may or can are used, then it's an option for me. I have the choice to do it or not, but it's not required. Am I getting that right?
Nailed it. So as we go through the course, we're going to refer back to the S500, but you'll want to remember these important definitions as we look at things as we're reading those in the S500.